In the land of shadow, there is a peak that is jagged. It has dragons and giant sheep who are the product of some borderline illegal breeding program. But above all, it has a guy who is really angry and a woman who never sleeps because otherwise her boss will fire her. Join me as I discover what the deal is with this peak that is jagged. Getting to Jagged Peak begins just like life, by entering a hole. However, on the way to said hole, you will discover a guy moaning. Again, just like how life begins. Basically, his entire body is broken because of some guy called Bayle. Maybe they were ex-lovers or something? It's hard to tell at this point. Anyway, you just don't help him and leave him battered and broken on the side of the road. You truly are a good Samaritan. On the way to the hole, you will get jumped by an ancient dragon man. It's basically a furry, but because it's an ancient one, I guess that means it's like a colonial trapper or something, clad in the furs of the beasts it has slain. Literally. The hole itself is pretty cool. You will find beastmen down here, which really strengthens the connection between them and dragons. This was already kind of established in the cookie that crumbles, but this brief appearance here helps corroborate it. There is this bowl of weird soup here. I don't quite understand what is in it. It looks like tomato soup. We know that tomatoes canonically exist in Elden Ring, so it's not a stretch to say that the beastmen harvested them to make this soup, which would naturally imply that there exists a tomato farm cultivated by the beastmen. It's safe to say these undead beastmen have an agrarian tomato-based society. In order to progress, you need to regret living in front of the tomato soup, which leads you to an ancient dragon man. He is probably the same one that invaded us earlier, who in hindsight, judging by the color of his phantom, used tomato soup to invade us somehow. When you punch him, tomato soup bursts forth from his flesh, which has some genuinely terrifying implications. Anyway, after you drink his broth, you finally arrive at the foot of Jagged Peak. Again with the feet. What is with Miyazaki and feet? I guess it's balanced out because we can find a message from Igon, who is missing a foot. His message says, Bayle, O terror incarnate, again I stand afore ye. Really, Igon? You stand afore ye? Are you sure about that, Igon? Are you sure you can stand? Nearby you can find a giant sheep. I guess a dragon had a BioWare fade to black bang cutscene with a sheep, kind of like Shrek. That's why it's so big. You can even find this very same dragon nearby. Unfortunately, it did not survive the fade to black bang cutscene. Under this dragon we can find the ultimate lunch lady.
Picture yourself feasting upon a dragon's essence, on the throbbing heart of the oldest, vilest dragon of them all.
You know, that sounds pretty nice. I think I will partake. Honestly, she is such an elite lunch lady. I can just ask her about Bayle, and she instantly goes into lore YouTuber mode and spills the tea. Bayle betrayed Senessax, trimming off one of his heads before fleeing. Then as a result, his bloodline, who are the Drakes, have served as sacrifices for dragon communion. This basically completely explains all of the open questions about dragons in Elden Ring. In the base game, there were two species of dragon, the ancient dragons and the drakes. You can tell them apart easily by their wings. The drakes have them attached to their front legs, while the ancient dragons have them separately on their back. The drakes were the weaker of the two. It was known that the drakes were descendants of the ancient dragons, but it wasn't clear exactly why they were different and weaker. However, now we know the reason for this, because they are descended from Bayle, who got aura diffed by Senessax, and as a result, they inherited his L aura, which is why they are weak. It also explains why the drakes only dropped dragon hearts. The ancient dragons don't drop these at all, which might seem strange. strange. The only purpose of dragon hearts is to use them in dragon communion, which, as we now know from the ultimate lunch lady, is a ritual that uses Bayle's bloodline as a sacrifice to gain power. I just remember being so surprised on my first playthrough that Miyazaki just directly spilled the tea like this through dialogue with an NPC. Usually you have to hunt through item descriptions, so you can parcel it out through like 10 different lore videos. As you travel up Jagged Peak, you will come across these two dragons battling. This is the rare moment in a From Software game where they just let you sit down and do nothing. Okay, maybe you need to back up a bit. I assume they are fighting over which main pop girlie has more sales, between Placidusax and Bayle. Technically Placidusax has sold more records, but the other Drake puts forward a good point, that a lot of those sales are from deluxe editions and various re-releases, so in terms of unique sales, Bayle might potentially have reached more people. Anyway, I told them I listened to less mainstream pop girlies with indie vibes, like Ancient Dragon Lanciax, and they did not like that one bit. So naturally I used a giant club to win the argument. This will prompt laughter from our old friend Igon, who is in the middle of crashing out because he has no legs. If you investigate, he will offer to help you fight Bayle on the peak that is jagged, by giving us his finger. Mate, I appreciate the gesture, but considering your current state, I think you need to keep your fingers. The rest of the zone is quite big, but very empty. There are some F-150 pedestrian destroyers, but outside of that, you mainly just enjoy the atmosphere. There is a particular ancient dragon here though. Their name is Senessax, and they are really annoying. They literally have a move that just knocks you down. It doesn't deal any damage. How many enemies in this game have an attack that doesn't deal any damage? And the thing is, it's not like this attack stuns you long enough for you to then get hit by another real attack that actually deals damage. No, you can just escape it unharmed. It is straight up wasting your time. It's so funny. It feels kind of insulting that it doesn't even damage you. As you head up the peak that is jagged, you are surrounded on all sides by a massive swirling red storm. There are bodies of dragons laying all over the place and deceased Drake goons. It really builds up the hype for the raging beast you are about to battle, Bayle. This guy has got to be the best dragon design From Software has come up with. You can just tell by looking at him that he really enjoys cool and badass things, like savoring long walks on the beach, Bob Dylan's unremarkable debut album, and saving books for later in his Amazon cart. He is so intimidating. All of his animations play into his design. He uses his exposed pieces of bone to attack you, and uses his tail to support his severed leg. When it's time for him to fly, he summons magical wings fueled by his rage, because his have been shredded to pieces. It feels like his rage must stem from a really dark place, in order for him to push through the pain like this. At first you might assume that he is angry because Placidusax defeated him. You can even see some of Placidusax's head still clamped onto Bayle. They are a permanent reminder of Bayle's failure, but I think his rage stems from something deeper and even more tragic. You see, the only thing that can make a fan of Bob Dylan's unremarkable debut album crash out this hard is divorce. Now I know everyone watching this video is familiar with the common Placidusax Bayle fade to black bang cutscene theory. It seems to be the consensus in the community that Bayle and Placidusax used to be in a relationship before having a really messy divorce. But there is actually a lot more to it than that. This is where Igon comes in. If you receive Igon's finger inside of your inventory, you will be able to summon him for this fight, and he has some words for Bayle.
Curse you, Bayle! I hereby vow you will rue this day. Behold, a true Drake warrior, and I, Igon,
He is full of hate. The Dragon Priestess points out that Igon is everything Senessax wanted out of those who partake in Dragon Communion. He is the perfect Drake warrior, but also because of his fierce spirit and short-sightedness, he is much like Bayle. You see, Igon actually ruined his limbs in a tragic lawnmower accident and started attending a support group for those who had ruined their limbs. It is here he met Bayle. They had so much in common: fierce hunger, short-sightedness, and a messed up leg. So naturally a BioWare fade to black Bane cutscene occurred. They married. Bayle even constructed prosthetic legs for Igon. However, they were both constantly consumed by rage, so they eventually got divorced. In the divorce, Igon took Bayle's vinyl copy of Bob Dylan's unremarkable debut album, while Bayle took Igon's prosthetic legs, which is why Igon blames Bayle for his ruined limbs, and why he joined Senessax's Drake warriors in an ultimate betrayal. And so when you defeat Bayle, Igon says that Bayle will haunt him no longer. That is the true prepare to cry. It is canon. It is in the lore. Anyway, on a happier note, you can get a free girlfriend. All you have to do is give her a potion that puts her to sleep. Yeah, I know that sounds really messed up, and it is. Miyazaki was really out of pocket with this quest. In order to do this, you need to get Thiolier's Concoction. It's basically a concoction that you get from Thiollier. I think that's why it's called Thiolier's Concoction. But who can say? After you meet Thiollier for the first time, you can travel to Moore, who will give us a pot of black syrup to pass on to Thiollier. I think this is a good example of Moore's innocent character. He has entrusted a complete stranger with this weird black liquid. In real life, this never goes well, but fortunately for Moore, we are really weird, so we pass it on, and in return, Thiollier gives us a concoction of sorts. Basically, if you imbibe it, it kills you instantly. Cool, thanks for giving me the drink that kills you instantly. I'll make sure not to drink it. However, the description does mention it could put an ancient dragon to sleep, and if you check the description of the blessing the priestess gives us, it tells us each night she gives her own sleep to her lord, and in return receives his favor, the lord in this case being Senessax. This might sound like a fade to black Bane cutscene, but I guess it's more spiritual than physical, because if you happen to visit her at nighttime, you will find her saying some kind of prayer to Senessax, and you can't interact with her like you usually can. However, you can give her the concoction, very out of pocket, and it seemingly severs her telepathic fade to black Bane cutscene with Senessax permanently. It messes her up so bad she sleeps for an entire day. When she finally wakes up, we can talk to her. She is incredibly beaten up over how she failed her lord by falling asleep.
This craven act of a foul and lowly beast. Forgive me, good warrior.
Yeah, that sucks, bro. I wouldn't have anything to do with that. She doesn't even see herself as an ancient dragon anymore. Maybe we did something bad here. Ah well, as long as we don't tell her that we did it and rub it in her face that we ruined her life, right? Well, we actually can. So why not? Once you defeat Bayle, you can return, and she will congratulate you, along with giving you her signature incantation which says, "There was a time when the priestess never knew love, and thus never used this incantation herself." Okay, that's an interesting development. She then reiterates that she is depressed and asks us to leave her alone. Okay dude, they are obviously fishing for a supportive comment here. Instead, let's hit them with the "I ruined your life."
In all my years, how could you inflict such cruelty? No. That is not for me to judge. Whatever your hand in it, it was I who succumbed to the sweetness of slumber.
I'm sorry, but girl, you gotta have some self-respect. But she does make a good point. We do owe her something for ruining her life, and that is, she wants us to be her lord. Are you kidding me? Seriously? This chick is cooked. We literally ruined her life using some mysterious evil juice Thiollier gave us. And she wants to go out with us? What does this even mean, Miyazaki? I'm done, man. We were rewarded for just being a straight up terrible person. And the thing is, it's like true love if you read the descriptions of the spirit ash you get. Long ago, Senessax assumed a human form to share dragon communion with the world. Now she has acquired a human heart. That actually sounds incredibly romantic, but we literally gave her the juice that kills you instantly, ruined her life, and destroyed her previous lord. So I don't even know what to think. Honestly, it feels incredibly fitting for the dark fantasy world of Elden Ring. It's like a gothic folklore tale. So what is the deal with this peak that is jagged anyway? Well, it's basically answered all of the dragon lore questions. We now know that Senessax is responsible for the Drake warriors and their dragon cult. He created it to hunt down Bayle and his offspring. Senessax was one ancient dragon that sacrificed her dragon form to aid in the creation of this cult. I wouldn't be surprised if there were more like her too, considering how many dragon communion churches there are. These Drake warriors would use the hearts that they harvested from Bayle's offspring as sacrifices in dragon communion, in order to gain the powers of the dragons. This is also how creatures such as worms came to be. They are Drake warriors who simply could not put down the cup. But it's also how these ancient dragon men came to exist. They all desired to gain the power of the dragons, and potentially become dragons themselves. Igon is one such warrior. He also recognizes that we are one as well. I know it can be a bit confronting, realizing that this whole time you are one of Champagne Papi's goons. However, it gets worse. Through slaying Bayle, we have become the ultimate Drake goon, and can claim his power using his heart. If you read the description of the incantations you can get from it, even after being consumed, the throbbing heart of Bayle continues to resist its subjugation. One day, the fire within will consume the very body and soul of its communion devourer. Devouring Bayle's heart basically gives you a terminal case of Giga Irritable Bowel Syndrome. I guess that's a sacrifice you have to make for true dragon power. There is also another sacrifice you can make for true dragon power. If you don't do the whole weird juice that instantly kills you questline, the Dragon Priestess will instead die after you defeat Bayle. I know how that sounds. She dies instantly when you don't give her the juice that kills you instantly, but she survives when you do give her the juice that kills you instantly. Whatever, it is what it is. Anyway, she drops her heart, or I guess you take it out of her as a souvenir? Just more proof that our character is so far gone mentally. You can use this to adopt her dragon form, which is pretty cool. There is also another dragon form you can get by solving a painting puzzle, also fairly cool. Both, however, are extremely malnourished, so when it comes to your dragon power, you choose the path of Giga IBS or extreme malnourishment. Then again, through the power of New Game Plus, you can have both malnourishment and IBS. Great, I guess. In the end, Senessax was kind of chill. He formed a dragon cult for the sole purpose of completely destroying that guy he hates and everything he holds dear, while in the meantime just chilling beyond time. So it's kind of weird that we just showed up, obliterated him, obliterated his rival, and then stole his girl. In a way, we are the ultimate Drake warrior. We obliterate them and we also bang them. I like to think Igon's spirit smiles down upon us, proud of what we have become, and proud of what we have banged. If you enjoyed this video, you should subscribe to my channel. It would look great on your resume.